and welcome to Crunch Time, a panel discussion show about your favorite topic, sports. I'm your host, John Bates, and here we will see three panelists battle it out to show who can come out on top. Joining us today are returning champion Chris Pearson, Kirsten Kroll, and Madison Golden. How are you guys doing today?
Feeling like a champion.
Fantastic.
Well.
Chris is a little cocky. I don't like it off the bat.
I'm
so
always
gotta
cocky.
kick him off his high horse.
Yeah, one of
All
us will
right,
take
please.
him out.
All right, there we go. Now we have a little bit of role reversal here today as our usual host, Kirsten, is on the panel. Kirsten, how does it feel to give up the host chair?
You know, I kind of miss it a little bit, but
Yeah.
I just want to give Chris a run for his money.
Yeah, those chairs are comfortable though, so I mean, you have that. So,
This is true.
all right, there has been a huge shakeup in the NFL as perennial MVP favorite and the Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers went out with a potential season-ending injury as he broke his collarbone after a hit by Vikings linebacker Anthony Barr. Brett Hundley took the reins on Sunday, but should the Packers turn to another option like CBS color commentator Tony Romo or free agent Colin Kaepernick? Chris, start with you.
I think they shouldn't. I think Brett Hundley is the number one option. Obviously, he didn't have a great week against the Vikings. 3 interceptions, 1 fumble. Not looking great. But he also came into a game that was super intense. You know, the Vikings defense is a strong one. That's why Anthony Barr got that hit. But, there's just been a lot of depleted QBs around the league. All you have left are people like Tony Romo and Colin Kaepernick, who are just these divisive players that you don't know who to sign, just like Jay Cutler was with the Dolphins. But coming back to Brett Hundley's stats, he had 3,000-plus yard seasons at UCLA with running a strong running game. That's something that the Packers have not had with Rodgers or Favre in the past. So I think he's the number one option right now.
All right, Kirsten.
Everyone keeps flirting with this idea that Tony Romo's going to come out of the booth to come back and put his cleats on, and that Colin Kaepernick is somehow going to play his first NFL game in, 2 years now? That's just not going to be a thing. That's not going to be a thing, and Brett Hundley is a much better option already off the bat. He's been practicing with the team, so you'd rather have a guy that hasn't played or been taking snaps just come in? No, that's an awful idea, and, Packers fans can chill out a little bit. Brett Hundley, I feel, his performance when he came in for Rodgers after he was hurt, it wasn't the greatest. He went 18 for 33 on his passes, but I think a lot of that was just nerves and shock of his, QB1 going down. So, give him a little more experience. And Mike McCarthy in a post-game last week mentioned Brett Hundley is the guy he envisions taking the reins the next few weeks while Rodgers out. I know Rodgers out for the rest of the season, that is, but Hundley's the guy, according to McCarthy.
Alrighty, Madison.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a devastating injury for the Packers. I mean, Rodgers is pretty much a huge asset, obviously, to that team, and he's a backbone. But, I mean, Brett Hundley is going to be, I think, their only option as well. I mean, I feel like, and he said he should be able to carry the team. I think once he kind of gets his feet wet and gets more comfortable with the team and gets a little bit better, I think he could have a lot of potential.
Alrighty, so we all seem to be in agreement that Brett Hundley should be QB1. So Kirsten, get the point. I do think there's definitely some concern whether Joe Callahan should be the backup or not, but that's another issue entirely. So the Green Bay Packers are not the only NFC North team with injuries, as the Vikings have had a revolving door at the quarterback position with Case Keenum at the helm now, but with some reports showing that Teddy Bridgewater may return soon, and with the Vikings star receiver Stephon Diggs hurt. Which team do you guys think will come out on top of the division with all of these injuries considered? Kirsten.
I think I'm going to kind of go with what the majority is saying right now and say the Packers probably out of the playoff question right now. Not only did they lose Aaron Rodgers, but they lost 3 of their starting offensive linemen, 3 of their starting defensive members. That's just a recipe for disaster. They get plagued by injuries every single year, and it just hit them all at the wrong time, wrong game. Just not a good moment in time for them. But I hate to say this, Vikings fans. I would say, it's great Teddy Bridgewater's back, but don't put all your cookies in one basket. They also have Dalvin Cook is out. Stephon Diggs is out. Those are 2 of your key guys on the team. What do you think you're going to do? You get Bridgewater back. He's been just eased into practice the last couple days. He hasn't been on the field since his injury. So
You like the Lions?
I think the Lions are going to take the North.
Alrighty, Madison.
All right, I agree with Kirsten on both of those. I think that the Packers and the Vikings are out. I mean, Stephon Diggs with the groin injury, you have Sam Bradford with his knee injury, and then Teddy Bridgewater coming back in is not going to do a whole lot. And I feel like the Vikings could eventually get back into it, but I don't think it's going to be this season. I think they're going to need some of those key players back before they have playoff potential. So I would also go with the Lions.
All right, Kirsten.
I'm also going with the Lions, but here's where I differ slightly because I feel like the Vikings have a shot. They have Case Keenum. He's sitting in there. He's looking like he's becoming a more solid quarterback. I think he's got the chance. Teddy Bridgewater, will not play this year, or should not play this year, I should say. I mean, I know Vikings fans want him to, but it's just too early for this squad. But Stephon Diggs, yeah, he's out, but you still have Adam Thielen. He's one of the best receivers. You have Latavius Murray, who is the guy you signed as a running back. I think the Lions are the #1, Vikings pushing at the door for the chance to get in.
Alrighty, guys. I think we're all kind of in agreement here, going with Lions yet again. But Chris, I think you're going to get the point here because I do still like the Vikings. I think Jarrett McKinnon is also going to help out in that Vikings backfield. And defense wins championships, so gotta love the Vikings' best defense in the division. All right, guys. Now this topic is our big crunch. Remember, it's worth double the points, and you'll get an extra minute to discuss it. So, the college football playoff race suffered some major changes after 3 top 10 teams were upset this past week. But which 4 teams do you guys suspect will be in the playoffs? Madison, we'll start with you.
All right, so I personally, week 8, I'm sick of Alabama. I'm so sick of that team. I want them to get knocked out. I hope that they don't make it. So I'm counting them out. I think Penn State has a really good chance of getting to the playoffs. They're currently 6-0 on the season. I would also love to see the Badgers in there. I think that they're an up-and-coming team, and the last few seasons they've kind of been right up there in the top rankings, and I would love to see them make it. I also think that TCU has a pretty good chance. I could see them potentially being in the 4th spot. Absolutely no Alabama, though. I hope that they – I mean, I know that's a slim chance.
I don't think you can count out a team just because you don't like
I
them.
know,
If that was me, I would just count out half the teams in the NFC.
Which team do you see taking out Alabama?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, Alabama's probably going to be in the top 4, but I hope that they don't win another national championship.
All right. Love the hatred of Alabama, but Chris, we're going to go to you now.
All I got to say is, obviously, of course, Alabama's undefeated. I share the same hatred of Alabama like she does, but Nick Saban, one of the greatest coaches in college football history, they're going to be in the top. Penn State's also in there. You're looking at James Franklin. He took over this program after their disaster of what happened with their, publicity, and made them into one of the best teams. Almost won the Big Ten championship, got gypped for making the playoffs last year, totally crushing it this year, winning by pretty good margins in all their victories. The other team I see is Georgia. Georgia is undefeated in the SEC. This is a big team, and the SEC has a strong division all around. They're the toughest division in football, I believe, and so from both divisions, I see them getting in. And TCU, like Madison said, also had some good wins over OSU, who was like number 6 at the time they played, something like that, and had a good win over them. Wisconsin is knocking on the door, but I only see them picking one Big Ten team, and that at this point is Penn State.
All right, Kirsten?
All right, there's going to be some bias here. Sorry, I can't keep it out. I've always been a huge Bulldogs fan, and so seeing them make this good of a run as they have so far this season has been absolutely so exciting. And, going 7-0, and especially in the SEC right now, I just think that they're going to make a deep run. I know they have to get past Alabama. Do I know if they can do that for sure? I'm not super confident, but I wouldn't count them out of the picture. They have strong recruits on the defensive side of the ball. I think if there's any team in the SEC that's going to get past Alabama, I think it will be Georgia. So I wouldn't count them out at all. And especially, when they fired their head coach a couple years ago and they got Kirby Smart in, I was very skeptical of that. But, seeing what he's done with this team in the past couple years really has me excited for what this program has to offer and what they're going to do this season.
Alrighty. Now, none of you guys mentioned Ohio State. Do you guys think they could have a shot?
No.
They've been looking really impressive the last couple of years, so saying no?
They lost to Oklahoma. That's why I don't like them. They don't look like a team that is competing this year. Yeah, they've always been good. Urban Meyer, obviously one of the great coaches. They just can't be good every year, and this is not that year. Yeah,
and
Penn
do you have
State.
something to say as well?
No, I agree with Chris. I don't think they're going to make it.
I think Ohio State's going to make it into the playoff picture.
Oh.
I really think that they are. They are a good team. Urban Meyer is a great coach, and it starts from the top down. If you have great coaching, it's going to trickle down onto your players.
Where do you take out Penn State, though? Where do you take out Penn State?
I'm rooting for Ohio State. I think Ohio State's going to come up.
Guess what? I agree with Kirsten. I do think
Bias.
Ohio State,
Bias.
Ohio State has a chance, and
Come
I do think
on.
that Georgia is a very hot and upcoming team right now. Well, that does it for our football portion of the show. But when we come back, we will dive into the wonderful world of hockey, and Madison will have a chance to make up some points. So stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to do a quick reminder of everyone's scores. Kirsten's in the lead right now with 3. Chris has 1 and is very salty. And Madison, unfortunately, you're at the bottom, but you definitely do have a shot to make it up because it's still anyone's game. So let's talk hockey. The college hockey season is underway now, and the NCHC is up for grabs. The #1 team in the nation and the favorites to win the conference are the reigning champs Denver, but St. Cloud State is also off to a hot start as they have won their first 3 games. 3 of the top 5 teams in the nation are in the NCHC, but who do you guys think will come out on top of the conference? Chris, we'll start with you.
I think it's going to be Denver this year. They've looked good in the past. They look like, they're a championship team, defending champion. They want to keep that streak going. Won the, I can't think of it now, but the Heisman of hockey. Can anyone help me with that? Hobie Baker, that's what it's called. Hobie Baker Award. I lost my train of thought there, but they're looking like a good team. I think they've got it again this year. The NCHC is one of the toughest teams in college, though, and that's why I say St. Cloud State. They've yet to prove themselves against good team. That's what Boston College is ready for this weekend. But they showed that they can come back and wins against Alaska and things like that. UND's also there. My team that I see also making it, that's like on the edge, CC. They've had a good start to the season, 3-1. I think they've got the chance to make it in there.
Kirsten.
I know there's a lot of hype about Denver, and, you got to give them some credit since they are the reigning national champions. There's also a lot of hype about St. Cloud State. I know they've been off to a hot start. They currently hold a 3-0 record in overall. But, the last 2 games when they played against Fairbanks, we haven't seen anything from Fairbanks in 2 years in the NCHC. So,
Fairbanks doesn't play in the NCHC.
I know, but I'm talking about teams that have played them. So, to be a little
That's
more
not fair
specific.
because the WCHA was the old powerhouse conference that got split up. I mean, yeah, Fairbanks isn't there, but they're playing the WCHA with teams like Minnesota
Regardless
State,
of that,
Bemidji
regardless
State.
of that, yes, we haven't seen much of Alaska Fairbanks. I don't know
still
how
playing
good
good
of a
teams.
team that they have been, but St. Cloud State, they almost lost to them 2 nights in a row. Yes, they came back, and they came back in fashion, but I just think there might be a little too much hype about St. Cloud State right now. And, Jeff Smith in goaltending, I'm not 100% sold on him yet. He has been doing a lot better than he did last season. Last time I checked, he had a .905 save percentage. But, it's still too early. It's still too early to say who's going to take the NCHC. But,
Alrighty.
if I had to say a pick, I'd say it's Denver.
All right, Madison.
I also think Denver looks really good. I mean, they still have their few top players, Troy Terry and Henrik Borgstrom. They absolutely racked up the points last year. St. Cloud State looks really solid as well. The Paling brothers are kind of stepping into their role, and they put up a lot of points this past weekend against Alaska Fairbanks. And then you have the freshmen coming in like Blake Lazat and Easton Brodzinski, and they're also killing it. But I say this every year. Colorado College has beat every team in the NCHC, and they are fully capable of beating any NCHC team. And the 2 past reigning national champions have been from the NCHC. I will not count out Colorado College, but I do think Denver is going to be at the top, but I think CC should be considered.
So who do you think is better, CC or St. Cloud State?
Looking at the season right now, I would say CC's above them.
Oh, wow. All righty, so that'll do it for this topic. And guess what? Madison, you're on the board with a
Thank
point.
you.
Like the hot take there with CC. All right, the NHL season has gotten off to a bit of a weird start as the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who are an expansion team, are currently in 2nd place in their division, and the Montreal Canadiens have surprised many as they are currently the worst team in their conference. But which team has surprised you the most so far? Kirsten, we'll start with you.
This pick is going to be a little bold, and I know some of you guys aren't going to agree with me, but so far I'm going to say the Chicago Blackhawks have been most surprising to me this NHL season. They suffered a devastating loss to the Nashville Predators in the 2017 Stanley Cup playoffs. They got swept in the first round, which is something that their franchise hasn't seen in a long time. And, then they came back this season. They beat Pittsburgh, the defending national champions, 10-1 in their game, and then they currently hold a 4-1-1 record overall. So I would say they're my biggest surprise so far this season.
Alrighty, Madison.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the Vegas Golden Knights. I think they just came out absolutely on fire. I mean, you have Fleury in between the pipes. He has.
Well, you don't anymore. He's on the IR.
Well, you had Fleury in between the pipes, and
he'll be back. In a week.
Yeah,
He has a
he's not
concussion.
out for very long. He was such a strong. He played with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They won national championships. He has playoff experience. Then you have James Neal, who played with the Preds and the Penguins, and he's a great asset for that team. I mean, you can't count out the Vegas Golden Knights. I also would like to just talk about the Avs just a little bit. I think that they look a lot better this season.
Madison, they're still not good.
Sound like me like the Browns.
I would also like to point out that Tyson Jost just got moved up to the first line of the Avalanche with Nathan McKinnon, and he played at North Dakota. So I think that the Avs have a lot of young potential, but I'm going to go with the Golden Knights for the most surprising.
Chris.
Most surprising team for me? The Avalanche. They are doing really well, just like the Twins did in this baseball season, where they went from one of the worst records and made the playoffs. I think the Avalanche, sitting 3rd in their conference right now, they look like they have a shot to do well this season. Obviously, it's early and you don't know yet, but they're my biggest surprise because they had such a bad season. Usually teams that don't have a bad season, don't come out and do well. They're looking amazing right now, and I think they're my biggest surprise for the season.
And do you think they can sustain it going forward?
I think it's possible. I mean, that good franchises like the Avalanche, who have had championships in the past,
Stanley Cups.
yeah, who have had Stanley Cups,
Two.
they try to make it back. They will find their way back. And to argue with Kirsten quick, she said that the Blackhawks is a surprising team. It's not surprising because they always come back.
I
With
knew
losses,
you were going
they
to come at me with
always
something
come
like
back.
this. I
Alrighty.
knew you were
Always.
going to.
Alrighty, guys, some very heated discussion. But Chris, I'm going to have to give you the point here. The Avalanche, definitely a surprise. Really like the way they've come
You're
out
keeping
so
track
far
of your
this
own
year.
points.
I am.
Alrighty.
I always do that.
The Minnesota Wild have had a disastrous start to their season with injuries to 4 of their top 6 forwards. The Wild were a playoff team last season, but they are currently in last place in their division. How much will the injuries to Niederreiter, Granlund, Parisi, and Foligno set the Wild back? Madison, we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, unfortunately for Minnesota teams, injuries seem to be a major problem.
that.
I think that the Wild, they've done it before. They've had injuries before. I think that they're totally capable of coming back from this. I think that they can push through it, and I think that there's enough talent on the team. Like, you have players like Zucker, Stewart, Stahl, Suter. You still have the foundation of that team. They're going to be able to push through this. And
The
they
difference is, even though they have injuries, they still can't make it past the first round of the playoffs.
that is true. I won't argue with that. I don't think the Wild just they seem to choke in the playoffs. That's a fact. But I think they can get through this, and eventually they'll kind of get back to where they were.
Alrighty, Chris.
The Wild, I think, are looking really bad this year, and I think they're going back to not being in the playoffs anymore. The way they're looking, you have, like you said, 5 of the front men are lost. Like their style is beat them up on the defense, don't let them score, get a few goals in the net. Without people, like these guys are people who play on your first and second lines. They, like Mikkola Grennan, Zach Parise, people like that. They're your starters, and they are not going to be there anymore. If they're not around, you're not scoring goals. If you're not scoring goals, you're not helping Dube. Dube's gonna let them in. You're gonna lose every game.
Alrighty, Kirsten.
The Wild are 1-1-2 so far this season, not off to a great start. And they lost, I would say one of the biggest losses on this team is the loss of Charlie Coyle. He has a broken leg. He's not going to be back anytime soon, let alone potentially for the rest of the season. And Zach Parise, the thing with him is he is always injured. He is recently re-injured after just coming off of another injury. Not to mention last season, all the injuries he
When he got
suffered.
the stick to the face and then got back and got another stick to the
Yep,
face.
exactly.
Yep.
So, I'm going to kind of take a bolder stance here. I think the Wild really need to consider Zach Parise's role on this team compared to, I know he is a key asset when he does play, but how often does he actually play? So I think the Wild can save some money, find a new key player, and maybe reconsider
Do you think
their
they
stance with
can
Zach
still
Parise.
contend this year?
No, I don't think they can. I don't think they haven't gotten past the first round of the playoffs the past few years. I don't see them doing it this year, especially with all these injuries.
Alrighty, well, that'll do it for this topic. Madison, you're getting another point again. I do think the Wild can come back from this. Well, that ends another round of some fantastic debate, but when we return, we will discuss our favorites for the NBA Finals, the Timberwolves season outlook, and the ALCS. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us as we enter our final round of debate. These are the questions that will decide our champions, so I hope you guys have some good responses. The scores are Kirsten with 3 still, Chris is at 2, Madison is also at 2, so it's still anyone's game. Now, let's get to it. The NBA season tipped off on Tuesday night with the Cleveland Cavaliers defeating the Boston Celtics in a thriller of a game that featured a devastating injury to one of the newest Celtics, Gordon Hayward, and the defending champs, the Golden State Warriors, were unable to defeat the Houston Rockets as Kevin Durant's game winner was a fraction of a second too late. With these things in mind, do you guys think any team can stop a 4th straight meeting between the Cavs and the Warriors in the finals? Chris, we'll start with you.
I think that easily the Western Conference can look at stopping the Warriors right now. I'll explain why later, but first I want to get to the Celtics and the Cavs because I've said from the get-go that the Celtics, with their new roster, will be able to beat the Cavs any day. Without Gordon Hayward, which was an early injury in the game, they still only lost by 1 point. That's all I got to say. Like, they have the chance to get in there. I think they're going to be able to beat Cleveland, especially when Gordon Hayward comes back, if he does. Rip Gordon Hayward, I love him. Coming from Butler, he was such a legend story. Hopefully he gets better. But, it's whatever. The Western Conference, though, is a mess right now. The Warriors lost to the Rockets. The Spurs, looking strong with a win against the Wolves. But there are teams in there that can beat the Warriors. The Rockets are in there. The Spurs are in there. The Thunder are in there. Even the Wolves are in there. They all have a chance to knock them out I don't think they make it to the finals again.
All right, some hot takes, Kirsten.
I disagree with Chris. I think the NBA, we've seen it the past however many years. The NBA is dominated by two teams every single year. It's the Warriors and whatever team LeBron James plays for. That is the way it's gone in the past, and that's the way it's going to continue to go. We are 1 week into the NBA season, and yes, the Warriors did lose to the Houston Rockets. They lost in just between a small fraction of points from a buzzer beater. That was what was separating the team from beating them. And then also the Cavs, I think we're 1 week into the season. It's too early to tell, but also I think, the NBA has been dominated by two teams this whole season.
But what about the offseason? What about the draws?
All right.
It's so different than the years in the past because you have superstars spread out between teams. Now you have powerhouse teams everywhere in the Western Conference.
All righty, Madison.
All right, I think I'm going to go with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
That's fair.
I think they're one of the most dangerous teams assembled in the offseason. I think Carmelo hasn't been on an actual, a legit team since the Nuggets, so I think that him...
Were the Nuggets ever legit with him? Were they?
Yeah,
were
the
never
Nuggets really
legit.
never were, but I mean, I think we're going to see a new Carmelo, and I think
All right.
that,
Eastern Conference?
no.
No? Just no for the Eastern Conference. Wow, all righty.
Someone's gonna make it.
Well, I really do think the Golden State Warriors will still be contenders, but I actually am going to give the point to Chris. Even though it hurts me very much to say the Cavs are vulnerable, they definitely are vulnerable, and they showed it on Tuesday night. The Minnesota Timberwolves had some of the biggest changes in this NBA offseason as they added Jimmy Butler, Jeff Teague, and Taj Gibson, but they also lost a fan favorite in Zach LaVine, and they even changed up their logo and their jerseys. So how do you guys see the completely new look Timberwolves doing this season? Kirsten, we'll start with you.
I'm all for the new look for the Timberwolves. I think new look, new team. I think Levine being gone, that sucks, but also they have so many key players left on this team that are going to make them a hot contender in this NBA season. Also, in the game we saw from Andrew Wiggins in the season opener, Andrew Wiggins was phenomenal. He had 26 points and went 4 for 6 on three-pointers, which just shows his depth in the field. He's going to be a huge contributor. And then also we have Karl Anthony Towns, who's always just been phenomenal for the Wolves. And also, yes, the Wolves did lose their season opener, but I think that was more on the coaching than any of the players. Tom Thibodeau, he benched Andrew Wiggins in the fourth quarter, and, that was obviously a very controversial decision. And also, he left Tyus Jones in when he should have played Jeff Teague. I know that was also a controversy. So if he stops bad coaching, the Wolves are going to make a good run this season.
Yeah, I think Tips will turn it around. Madison.
Yeah, tough loss yesterday without Kawhi Leonard. I think it was off to a good start, though. I think that they have a lot of potential, and I mean, they have 3 new starters. They added a lot of pieces to put their team together, and I mean, they were 24th in total rated defense last year, which is huge. And they just have to mesh and communicate and just really focus on building as a team. And I agree with Kirsten. It comes with coaching as well. Mm-hmm. So.
Chris.
I mean, Thibodeau did look good with the Bulls. The Bulls have looked so much worse since he's left and has come to Minnesota. And I think that he's a future for this team. He's brought these players in. He knows that's why Jimmy Butler's here is because he played with Thibodeau. I don't think it's the coaching. I just think it's the Spurs. The Spurs are one of the most dangerous teams in the Western Conference. Take any other team that is not in this top 5. I think you got it because I see the Wolves as maybe a 4 or 5 seed at the end of the season. So, you just got to look at some of these tougher teams and say, hey, maybe the Wolves didn't win this game, but they'll get the rest of the conference.
Do any of you guys see the Wolves going above a 4 or 5 seed?
I do.
You do?
I really do.
Wow.
I'm going to be bold. I definitely think they have the potential.
I don't think so.
All righty. Chris, you're going to get the point for that one. I definitely think they're firmly in that 4 to 5 seed range. Totally agree. All right, the ALCS has shifted completely upside down as after the Astros got off to a 2-0 lead, the Yankees have fought back and have now taken a 3-2 lead in the series. With the series going back to Houston, can the Astros change the momentum again and take the series, or will it be the Yankees who move on to the World Series? Madison, we'll start with you.
I think I think the Yankees are gonna take it. I think they're a team with nothing to lose. They're a young team. They've shown a lot of potential this season, and they've really pushed it, especially at home. Unfortunately, since it's an away game, that kind of makes it a toss-up. But I do think the Yankees are going to come out on top. They have strong players. They got some good stats, especially with hitting and everything. And I think that they're going to take it and seal the deal.
All right, Chris.
I think that the Astros and Yankees, this is a crazy series because you have everybody winning at home right now. The Yankee Stadium seems like a magical place because the Yankees have not lost in the postseason at Yankee Stadium. Unfortunately, unless they go to the World Series, they're not playing there again. They got 2 games in Minute Maid Park where the Astros have thrived all season. And you know what? the Yankees have won one game on the road in the playoffs. Everything else lost. They lost twice in Cleveland, won once. They've lost twice in Houston. I think that they at least go to 7, and then there's kind of a toss-up. I still pick the Astros to take it in 7.
Oh, wow. All right, Kirsten.
I disagree with Chris. I think the Yankees have all the momentum going their way right now, and plus they have Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, and Greg
Aaron
Bird.
Judge?
Whatever. Anyways, they're the trio right now, an unexpected trio too, that have come up for the Yankees, and everyone's raving about them and what they've done this postseason. And like I said, all the momentum's going the Yankees' way. I don't care if they're going on the road. I think they're going to bring it at Houston, and
History repeats itself. That's all I got to say.
All right, do you guys have any concerns about the Yankees pitching going forward? Or the Astros offense? Which one's a bigger concern?
I'd say the Astros offense. I think that's a bigger concern.
I don't know. Yankees pitching, they've gone deep a lot, and it's wearing out at the end of the postseason. I don't know if
I
they'll
think
be
they
able to
still
hang
have a
on.
strong enough bullpen
I don't know
to
if they'll
make
be
it.
hanging on. We'll see.
Alrighty, well, I guess that'll do it for this topic. I'm going to give the point to Madison. I definitely do not see the Astros actually taking this one. I think the Yankees do have the momentum right now. That's going to do it for the debate portion of our show. When we come back, we will announce the winner for this week's edition of Crunch Time. Stay tuned. Our panelists have battled it out for another week here at the Crunch Time studio, but only one of them came out on top. Before we announce this week's winner, let's go around and check where everyone stands with points. Madison and Kirsten, you guys both had 3 points, but our champion for this week, second straight week, Chris Pearson, he had 4 points. How does it feel to be champ yet again?
I figured I would be, so it doesn't feel that great. Or,
Wow.
I mean, it feels good, obviously.
It's clearly getting to your head.
It
All right.
has gone to his head.
Ezekiel Elliott has been reinstated yet again after his suspension was overturned for the second time. Chris, we're going to start the final drive with this. How do you see this saga playing out?
This is dumb. Like, you know, the judge said that he should serve a suspension. I think he should serve a suspension. Like, the NFL has stood firm on domestic violence for the past couple of years, especially after the whole Ray Rice incident and other things along those lines. I mean, with this incident, yeah, it sucks for the Cowboys and stuff like that, but Zeke should serve a suspension, get it over with, because the later you go into the season, the worse it's going to be for the Cowboys because they might not be able to make a playoff push if they don't have their star running back in. So he should serve a suspension and get out. I don't know why. I think it was like the judge was on vacation or something, but whatever.
Alrighty. With Panthers linebacker Luke Kuechly getting yet another concussion, people are wondering if he should ever play football again. Do you believe that football is too dangerous?
I believe that football is dangerous. I don't think it's because of why we think it is. I think it's dangerous because we coach people to play it so aggressively. I think we need to play a safer version of football, maybe like even take the competitiveness out of football for the first couple years you teach it. Don't make it about winning. Make it about learning the fundamentals, learning how to tackle without your helmet, learning how to safely tackle people. You know, because football is a sport we've been playing forever. You know, people used to play without helmets. Helmets are good to protect, but they also can hurt. So it's dangerous, but if we implement it better, then it'll be fine.
Absolutely. And the Cubs were able to stay alive after taking Game 4 after dropping the first 3 games against the Dodgers. But do you think there is any chance the Dodgers blow a 3-0 lead?
No. I've only seen 3-1 leads like the Indians. Right in the right in the heart. I know, it's fine.
It's 3-1 lead now, so.
But yeah, okay. But so, like, the Dodgers, they've looked good. They've looked good all season. They looked good in the playoffs. They're going back to Dodgers Stadium after Game 5, I believe, right? Since they're back home. I think they might lose one more, maybe make it to 6, but I think the Dodgers have it wrapped up. I've said it last year. I said it last week. Dodgers are my pick.
Alrighty. Well, that was an absolutely excellent performance tonight, Chris. But that is going to do it for us here at Crunch Time. We hope to see you guys back here next week, same time, same place.